You're still in it. The conversation ended hours ago, but your mind didn't. You're standing in your kitchen or sitting on the edge of your bed or staring at a wall that hasn't done anything wrong. And suddenly you hear your own voice again. Not out loud. Inside. The exact sentence. The tone you used. The way their face shifted for half a second. You replay it. Not the whole conversation at first. Just a fragment. A small moment where something felt slightly off. You zoom in on it like it's evidence. The pause before you answered. The word you chose. The word you didn't choose. You're not trying to punish yourself. You're trying to understand something that already happened and somehow still feels unfinished. You adjust your memory. This time, you say it differently, more casual, less eager, less defensive. You imagine their reaction changing too. Their eyebrow softens. Their tone warms. The air in the room becomes lighter. But that's not how it happened. So you rewind. Again. Morning comes and you're brushing your teeth, foam in your mouth, eyes unfocused, and the conversation slides back in like it was waiting outside the bathroom door. You think about the joke you made. Was it too much? Did it land wrong? You replay their laugh. Was it real? You slow it down in your head, frame by frame. It's strange how clear it feels. You can almost hear the room tone, the background noise, the chair moving, but you can't remember what you wore yesterday without effort. This you remember in high definition, because it's not about what happened. It's about what it meant, or what it might have meant, or what it could have meant if you had tilted your head slightly differently when you spoke. You don't do this with every conversation, just the ones that brush against something vulnerable, the ones where you revealed a little too much, or not enough, the ones where you felt seen, or almost seen, or misseen. You tell yourself it's just thinking, but it feels more physical than that. Your stomach tightens, your shoulders adjust, your breathing shifts slightly as if the conversation is happening again right now. You're not remembering, you're re-entering. On the bus, in the car, walking past people who have their own replays running silently behind their eyes. You stare ahead, but inside you're back in that room. You hear them say, "Oh," just that, "Oh." And now it sounds different, colder, or maybe disappointed, or maybe neutral. But you don't trust neutral. Neutral is dangerous because it leaves space, and your mind fills space quickly. You wonder what they thought after you left. You imagine their version of the story. Maybe they told someone about it. Maybe they laughed about it. Maybe they didn't think about it at all. That possibility almost feels worse. Because if they didn't think about it, why are you? You rewind again. This time you analyze your face. Did you look insecure? Did you speak too fast? You imagine an alternate version of yourself. Calm, measured, unbothered. That version doesn't replay conversations. That version walks away cleanly. But you don't. You carry them. Not the whole person. Just the unfinished parts. Midday, you're answering emails. Or pretending to listen. And suddenly a line from earlier floats up again. You didn't mean it the way it sounded. You know that. But what if they didn't know that? You construct a follow-up message in your head. Something casual. Hey, by the way. No, too obvious. That would make it bigger. So you say nothing, and instead you replay over and over, like pressing a bruise to check if it still hurts. It does, not sharply, just enough to confirm it's there. You're not trying to change the past. You're trying to settle it, to file it somewhere stable. But it won't sit still, because conversations aren't just words. They're exposure. Every time you speak, you reveal a little map of yourself, and afterward, you study the map from their perspective. What did they see? Where did they look? Did they notice the part you tried to hide? You rewind to the beginning again. The first sentence you said. Maybe that's where it shifted. Maybe the tone was already slightly off. Maybe you walked in already unsure. The mind loves beginnings. It thinks if it can find the exact starting point of discomfort, it can untangle the rest. But every time you arrive at that first moment, it feels harmless, ordinary, just two people talking. So you move forward again, to the pause, to the look, to the oh. You sit with it. You turn it around. You imagine it softer, then harsher, then distracted. Each version changes the entire emotional outcome, and you don't know which one is real. So you keep replaying, as if clarity is hidden somewhere between repetition number 12 and 13. It isn't, but that doesn't stop you. Evening starts to lower itself around you. The light changes, the day slows, and your mind returns again to that small, precise moment like it's magnetic. You weren't even thinking about it just now, but it was thinking about you, waiting. You exhale. You hear the sentence again. And this time you don't correct it. You just listen. Why does it still feel open? Why does it refuse to close? You replay it not because you want to fix it, but because somewhere inside you it feels like the story isn't done. And you don't like unfinished stories, especially the ones where you're not sure how you were perceived. You press play again, not to change it, just to sit inside it a little longer. You're back in it again, not because something new happened, but because nothing resolved. You're washing your hands, water running, and in the reflection of the mirror, your face looks neutral, almost calm. But behind your eyes, the conversation reassembles itself. Not from the beginning this time, from the middle, from the exact moment your voice shifted slightly. You didn't notice it then. You notice it now. You hear how your tone tightened for half a second. Why did it tighten? Were you trying to prove something? Were you afraid of something? It felt small at the time. Now it feels like a hinge the entire interaction swung on. You replay it again. You imagine your voice lower, slower, less eager to be understood. In this version, you don't rush to fill the silence. You let it breathe, but in reality, you filled it. Quickly. You always do. Silence feels like judgment when you're inside it. So you repair it before it can say anything. But now, hours later, you sit inside that silence willingly. You stretch it out in your mind. You listen to what wasn't said. The way their eyes moved slightly away. Or maybe they didn't. Memory is strange. It edits with emotion. You're not replaying a recording. You're replaying an interpretation. And each time you revisit it, the interpretation shifts slightly. Morning turns into afternoon. Afternoon into early evening. You move through the day. But the moment doesn't. It stays suspended. Like it's waiting for you to decode it correctly. You think about their, oh, again. It was soft. Or was it clipped? It lasted less than a second. But you've given it hours. You try to hear it without emotion. Just sound. Just vibration. But you can't separate it from what you felt in your chest right after. That small drop. That subtle heat in your face. The almost invisible instinct to explain yourself further. You did explain further. You remember that part clearly. You added context. Clarification. Just in case. Just to make sure they understood. But now you wonder if that made it worse. If your explaining revealed the insecurity you were trying to hide, you replay that part too. Your second sentence. The one that came too fast. You try removing it in your mind. In this version, you stop after the first sentence. You let it stand. You let them react. You imagine yourself steady, comfortable with ambiguity. But you weren't comfortable. You felt exposed. That's what this is really about. Not the words. Exposure. You showed a piece of yourself. Maybe a preference. Maybe an opinion. Maybe a feeling. And once it was out there, it couldn't be taken back. So now your mind tries to control it retroactively. It's almost tender, the way you do this. You're trying to protect yourself from something that already happened. You're trying to soften the memory before it hardens into meaning. Because meaning is what lingers. If that, oh, meant disappointment, that says something. If it meant confusion, that says something else. If it meant nothing at all, then why are you still here? You're walking somewhere now. Maybe outside. Maybe just from one room to another. And the replay continues like a quiet film layered over reality. You nod at someone. You answer a question. But underneath, you're adjusting your posture in a room that no longer exists. You think about how you were sitting. Were your shoulders slightly hunched? Did that make you look unsure? You reconstruct the lighting, the distance between you. You imagine how you appeared from across the table. Did you look like someone who believed what they were saying? Or someone asking for permission? You replay the first smile. Yours. Was it too wide? Too quick? Did it signal nervousness? You pause there. You slow it down. You watch your own face in your memory like it belongs to someone else. You study it the way you'd study a stranger. And the strange thing is, you're kinder to the stranger. When you imagine someone else in that moment, you don't judge them as harshly. You think, they were just talking. They were just being human. But when it's you, the replay becomes forensic. You scan for mistakes, micro expressions, shifts in tone, hidden weaknesses. You think maybe if you replay enough, you'll finally land on the correct version, the definitive interpretation. But each replay opens another possibility instead of closing one. What if they were distracted? What if they were thinking about something unrelated? What if their had nothing to do with you? Your mind considers this gently, but it doesn't stay there long because uncertainty is uncomfortable and replaying feels like doing something, even if it isn't. Evening deepens, lights dim, your body starts to slow down, but your mind grows more precise. At night, the details sharpen. The room where it happened becomes clearer. You hear the chair scrape again. You see the way they lean back, or did they lean forward? You adjust it. You test both versions. In one, they're engaged. In the other, they're withdrawing. Each version changes how you feel right now. That's the power of a memory you don't trust. It becomes elastic. It bends toward your current fear. You realize something quietly. You're not replaying the conversation. You're replaying your position inside it. You're trying to measure how solid you were, how stable, how acceptable. You want confirmation that you were okay, that you didn't say too much or too little, that you were received the way you intended. But intention disappears once words leave your mouth. All that's left is interpretation. Theirs, yours, and the gap between them. You lie down. The room is darker now, and the replay doesn't feel urgent. It feels familiar, like a ritual. You return again to the same image from earlier. The pause, the oh. This time you don't change it. You just let it echo. You notice how your body still reacts. A slight tightening, a subtle awareness in your chest. Why does something so small feel unfinished? Why does your mind refuse to archive it? You don't answer. You press play again. Slower now, quieter, as if you're not trying to solve it anymore. Just understand the shape of it. And the shape keeps shifting, which means you're not really chasing the past. You're circling something softer underneath it. Something older than this conversation. Something that recognizes itself every time a moment feels slightly uncertain. You replay not to fix, but to locate yourself. And you're still looking. You're still there, not in the room, not in the exact sentence, but in the feeling that followed it. It's quieter now, less sharp, but it hasn't left. You're lying in the dark. The day is thinned out. Sounds are softer. Your body is heavier. And the conversation returns again, not urgently, not aggressively, just present, like a tide that keeps reaching the same place on the shore. You go back to the beginning, not because you need to, because you know it so well now that it feels familiar. Your first sentence, your tone, the air in the room. You replayed it so many times that it almost feels safer than the present moment. At least there, you know what's coming. The pause, the oh. You listen to it again, but something has shifted. It doesn't feel like a threat anymore. It feels like a mirror. You're not just replaying what they said. You're replaying how quickly you moved against yourself, how fast you question your own stability, how immediately you assumed something was wrong. You wonder when that started. This instinct to audit yourself after every exposure. You think back to other conversations, different people, different rooms, same replay, the same scanning. The same tightening in your chest, the same late-night reconstruction of tone and posture. It isn't about this one moment. This moment is just the latest surface. You're really replaying the possibility that you were misseen or misunderstood, or that you revealed something too unfiltered. You don't like not knowing how you exist in someone else's mind. That's the part that stays open. You can't access their interpretation, so you build your own, over and over. You lie there and notice something subtle. Each replay isn't identical. At first, it was sharp and self-critical, then analytical, then defensive. Now it's softer, almost observational. You're not trying to fix the memory anymore. You're watching yourself inside it. The way you lean slightly forward, the way your voice lifted at the end of the sentence, the way you rush to explain. There's a tenderness in seeing it now. You weren't flawed. You were careful. Careful with how you were received. Careful with how much of yourself you allowed. Careful with the space between you and someone else. The replay slows down. You stay longer inside the silence this time. You notice something you didn't before. After there was a microsecond where nothing was wrong. Before your interpretation rushed in. Before the self-doubt assembled. There was just sound, neutral, open, and then your body reacted, not to what happened, but to what might have happened. That's what the replay has been circling. Possibility. The possibility that you were too much, or not enough, or slightly off. You realize how often you brace for that. Even in conversations that feel light, there's a part of you already preparing for the after, for the review, for the quiet replay later. You turn onto your side. The room is almost completely still, and you revisit the image from morning. You brushing your teeth, foam in your mouth, eyes unfocused, the memory slipping in like it had been waiting. You see that version of you now, half awake, already analyzing, and something about it feels gentle, not obsessive, just human, trying to make sense of connection. Because conversations aren't just exchanges. They're tiny negotiations of belonging. And when you replay them, you're not correcting grammar. You're measuring closeness. You're asking silently, did I stay inside the lines? Did I step outside them? Did I lose something? Did I gain something? You never get a definitive answer. That's why it continues. You go back again to the room. One last time. The lighting, the table, the space between you. You let the moment unfold without interference. They say, oh, and you don't add anything after. You just let it exist. It doesn't collapse. It doesn't explode. It just hangs there, ambiguous. And for the first time, you don't try to solve it. You notice how your body feels when you don't correct it. There's still tension, but there's also space. The replay doesn't disappear. It just loses urgency. You understand now, but not in a way that closes anything. Understanding doesn't erase the instinct. It just makes it visible. You know you'll replay another conversation soon. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next week. A different pause. A different word. A different, oh. And you'll sit inside it again, adjusting tone, rewriting silence, measuring yourself through someone else's imagined perspective. Not because you're broken, but because being seen is uncertain. And uncertainty echoes. The room is quiet. The day is gone, but somewhere in your mind, the scene still exists, not demanding, not resolved, just looping softly. And even now, as you lie there, you can feel it beginning again,